You're listening to Packers Talk Network. PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com Network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans that love talking about the Pack. We're not getting into all the national sports media distractions and the nonsense they get into. We are sticking to the top topics around the Pack every week, breaking down games during the season and getting into off-season stuff in the off-season. We're not there anymore, so we're not going to worry about that. If y'all want to support this podcast, please spike that like button for us. Most importantly, jump on over to that Packers Talk Network YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. That is the golden button for us. That the green and golden button. Hit that subscribe button. Do it right now. Take you a few seconds, and we love you for it. Love the subscribers, love the listeners, love you guys jumping in with the comment section every week. And can't wait to talk a little family night here with you tonight. We got real Packers football. I mean, that's really all that matters right now, that boils down to. But of course, first, we got to take care of some business. This show is once again sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as Bucks, Brewers, and all the other stuff, whatever. It's Packers season, so none of that matters. You can find them on the web at ticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember, support your local Wisconsin businesses. If you're not in Wisconsin, support your local businesses. Tim, good evening, sir. How we doing?
Good evening, Miles. I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, man. We just got to see the Packers play football on the field. That was that makes me feel good.
Yeah, we're talking about practice, but family night inside Lambeau Field with about 60,000 people watching them and getting to watch it on their website. That was pretty cool too, being able to watch it from afar since we don't get to see them
getting with it.
Close. Yeah, getting with the times. It took them a while. But yeah, we're almost there, and this is preseason week 1, getting ready to take on the Jets Saturday night. So yeah, things are kicking in the high gear a couple weeks through training camp now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've left the offseason behind. We don't have to worry about any of the offseason woes anymore. And we're starting to talk about real Packers football. I got to say, man, I'm pretty happy about where things are at right now. I feel good about, how family night went. There's definitely a couple names that need to be talked about, but no major injuries, I don't believe, right? I think the Tucker Kraft sat out. It's a knee thing, expected to not be a big deal for a while.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have anything long term, but it seems like they're starting to get some little, nicks, bumps, and bruises piling up here because they had kind of a long list of guys that missed the practice the other night. But I like you said, it doesn't seem like it's anything to worry about long term, and I think they're kind of taking it easy with some of these guys. Rasheed Walker missed it with a groin injury. Some guys you can give a break, and if something pops up, now is the time to hold them back, right? Like you don't want to push it. So we'll see who comes, starting this week in practice leading up to the Jets game, if any of them get back. But yeah, I mean, knock on wood, they were able to avoid any kind of major injuries so far, which is awesome.
Yes, very awesome. And we've said it, like that's going to be one of the real caveats of the season if they stay healthy. Yeah. Now, I will say I'm rather encouraged by some of the things that we're seeing because, one of the themes of championship teams, and specifically the Packers 2010 championship team, was the ability to have the next man up, and have that next man up mentality. And sometimes you can have that mentality all you want. If the next man up's not very good, it's not going to go very well. I'm starting to look at this roster and, I don't want to say that they can handle injuries, but it feels like next man up could work. It feels like that philosophy could work with this roster. Very excited to see some of the depth. I don't know who would you say was your biggest standout for family night?
Well, I mean, Omar Brown was a superstar with 3 interceptions. That was eye-opening right from the start, and it's a great story. He's got a long way to go to make the team because he's at safety, which is one of their deepest positions, maybe the deepest position on the team. But he was on the practice squad last year, and they brought him up for a few games where he played mostly special teams. But he's a young guy that they thought enough of that they kept around all season on the practice squad, right? So keep making plays like that. He's going to be pushing Zane Anderson and Katano Oladapo for the final safety spot. So he was one that stood out. It's a great story. Undrafted guy who was originally with another team through camp, and they signed him at the end of at the cut down time at the end of training camp last year and put him on the practice squad. So awesome for him to be able to go out there and make 3 picks. He was one. And another guy who stood out not only at family night, but I think throughout the first couple of weeks of training camp is Carrington Valentine. Like he seems like he's taken another step, and I know he's behind Nixon, he's behind Hobbs, but he's pushing his way into like figuring out a way. Like he needs to be on the field. So however you're gonna align that defense, whatever packages you're gonna put him in, like he's pushing. Like I don't know how you keep him on the sidelines right now. He continues to ascend and progress like this. He looked really good family night. The word is, from everybody that's up there watching and covering training camp, that he's been really good through camp as well. So, you love to see it as a 3rd-year player, and it's certainly a position they need depth at. We've been talking about that for a while, and the news today was that they added a little bit of depth, and Corey Ballantyne's back, which is great. And I think Bo Melton's another guy who's looked better than expected in his transition to corner.
No kidding. Oh my gosh.
When they first did that, I'm like, I don't know. Like it's a long shot. I don't think this is going to, work out. He's going to have to be really good at special teams to have any chance to make the team. And even that, I figured it's a long shot. He might be a guy they keep around in the practice squad to develop at cornerback. But I mean, he seems like every practice you hear about him making plays or sticking with guys in coverage. I think he's got a good shot. I don't think he's, a lock or anything like that. Certainly with bringing Valentine in, it's going to be a little bit tougher for Melton, but he's at least showing that he's capable of doing this and making that transition. And Bisaccia loves him on special teams, so he'll be going to bat to just get him on the team as a special teams guy, and then what they can develop him at cornerback. But yeah, Valentine, Melton, those guys stood out, and they've been good throughout camp so far. So yeah, those are a couple of guys that caught my eye. What about you? Who'd you see Saturday night that really stood out to you?
I really enjoyed watching Jordan Love, and I think sometimes we try to go around the most obvious topics on this show and we get a little bit more into the weeds. But on this one, you got to look at Jordan Love, and it's not like we can compare stats. Oh, this family night versus that family night. It's just watching him. He looked comfortable to me. He hit the net and then they go off and do the celebration. And, there was a few times where when they were going live that he had pressure in his face and whatever. He looked like he was comfortable. He looked like he was ready to play. He looks like he's starting to enter that zone where he's in his happy place in being in command of the offense. And that to me is probably one of the best signs you can take out of this. I think it's easy to mail in family night. And, if you don't have a good family night, who cares, right? It's a practice. I'm talking about practice. But at the same time, like this is the ramp up to the season. You don't want to see the same 0-1 come out and get knocked around until you wake up and start playing football. You want to see these guys ready to go. And I think that's what we saw at family night, man. Everybody looked sharp. Everybody looked like they were competing, but it wasn't out of control. Guys don't look desperate, which maybe you want a little bit of desperation, but at the end of the day, it's not a good combination to have, desperate guys at the bottom of the roster just fighting for a job on a roster filled with a bunch of guys who are not desperate because they're secure in their job. That's how guys get hurt. It's how dumb things happen. It just felt like everybody was very much out there in a business mentality, out there doing their jobs. And, obviously it seemed like they enjoyed the atmosphere of it. I don't know how you don't love family night. and I think we got a few comments rolling in. We'll get to those, but when you see that atmosphere and these guys, they've been in camp now for a couple weeks and they've been grinding, working their butts off. That's a huge reward, man. Like being able to do that, even though it's just practice, like just the atmosphere of it, all the fans out there, the kids out there, you can see how much they're having fun with it and how much they love being around Packers fans and in the atmosphere, and they're not necessarily hiding from it. Nobody's too big for it. I just loved that. I think that was the thing that stood out to me most. There's a lot of the intangibles, just the energy of it, the vibe of it. It's very exciting with Ed Policy kind of starting to, there was a few shots of him out there and he's stepping into the role. And there's just a lot of upward vibes around this whole program right now. And I felt like Family Night really illustrated that quite a bit. So yeah, that's why, we named the episode, How Do You Not Love Family Night? And here we go. We got our friend Bill joining us. Bill Patsis, good to see you, sir. How can you not love Family Night? The tradition we have is real special. The community is absolutely special. So fortunate to be a Packers fan, for sure. Could not have said it better, Bill. And I love it now that the Bears are trying to do a Family Night. And first of all, it's like, dude, get your own name. Like, it's not like Family Night's that super creative to begin with. Like, y'all could come up with something else. And second of all, it's not even at night. Like, it's like daytime out there. Like, they're having like a midday practice. They're calling it Family Night. And then obviously it's just a pathetic excuse of a family night. So, we'll just keep kicking them while they're down. But
leave it to the Bears.
Yeah. And of course they Lollapalooza's going on though. And, my response to that is like, if my team was playing football for over 100 years and my rival's current quarterback would be the best quarterback in franchise history, I'd probably go to Lollapalooza too. I don't think I'd waste my time with a Bears practice. So you guys are probably right. I can't even blame you for it. But anyway, it's fun to get another chance to jab at the Bears. Any W we can take over the Bears, we're going to get it. So we definitely won the Family Night between the two. There's no question there. It was a rout. Shutout, maybe. But no, absolutely love the tradition. Love to see it. Love the energy around it. And there is something that feels right now like it's bubbling up, and these guys, I think, really illustrated that a lot. Another one who's standing out, he's our show favorite. We're rooting for this guy is Mr. Stackhouse, starting to earn himself some reps against the ones. So do we have a Slayton replacement already? Like, is he on the roster?
I don't think he's on it yet, but he's just been rising up. Like, he started out with the threes, and early in camp they bumped him up to the twos. Now they're giving him some reps with the ones. They're talking him up. You see him produce them. Well, we're not seeing, but everybody's that's there seeing him produce in practice. It's really a daily thing where you're getting, he's in the backfield disrupting plays. He's showing a little pass rush. He's making tackles behind the line. So he's ascending, and he's going to be a tough guy to keep off this roster as long as he keeps it up. But he's got to keep it up. It's still early. They haven't played the preseason games yet, which is going to be big for him to see other teams. He's got to produce. But, yeah, he certainly has a really good shot at this point because they don't have another guy like him, as far as a run stuff, or maybe Brinson's that. And Brinson's come on the last few practices as well and shown, flashes of what he can be, the two Georgia kids, which is interesting. But they don't have the big run stuffing, space eating guy on that roster. So if Stackhouse can do it and you can improve it, then yeah, he's got a spot at the end of camp. And it's interesting too, because he's been really good, but there's been some guys at defensive tackle, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, that have been quiet. And those are guys that are going to have to, especially Wyatt, that need to pick it up. I mean, I know it's camp, it's early, still kind of in camp, but they're not guys that can cruise through. They need to start getting better, and you got a guy like Stackhouse, you got Brinson, and I'm not saying Wyatt's in no, he's under contract. He's a freshman. He's not getting cut, but
right.
Brooks's spot isn't a definite. Wooden's spot isn't a definite on the roster. So they need to do something, and you got these two Georgia kids that are coming on, especially Stackhouse. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out the rest of camp. But yeah, to your point, Stackhouse has been really good, and that's awesome to see because they could use that TJ Slayton replacement.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, and I was listening to an interview he did, I think, in the locker room the other day, and he sounds mature. Like he sounds like a dude who already feels like he belongs in that room. And, obviously a guy's got to earn it and there's a long way to go, but just that mentality, I think, is a huge advantage to him. And I think one of the questions was, did it help to, that all these guys from Georgia are here? And he said, of course. I think that was really what helped him make the decision about where to go as an undrafted free agent. But when he's speaking, man, he's very, very thoughtful about the game, and the whole chemistry of a team. And he just sounded very wise beyond a rookie. He did not sound like a rookie. Like this time of year, even the guys who are drafted high, the rookies, not that they sound overwhelmed, but you can tell by the things that they're saying that there's still a lot they're learning. There's a lot they're figuring out. And so when they're being asked questions, they're going to be vague with their answers and be like, yeah, this is good. This is bad. Need to get better here. And he went in detail with a few things. I was just very impressed by his interview. The interview that I got to do with him back at the Shrine Bowl, we had some fun. I didn't give him a chance to be serious and all that, but I did love his answer that if you love football, the training camp ain't hard. And so far, he's absolutely backing that up. So really rooting for Stackhouse. We got a couple in the comments. It looks like are as well. Afam Rolfs. I don't know. It's probably not your real name, but if it is, that's a unique name. Thanks for joining us, Afam. It says Afam's down with Stackhouse. Dig that. Our Showers. Good friend, our Showers. Glad you're with us. He says, I wanted us to draft Stackhouse. He was a gift. Absolutely. I'm really kind of more surprised now that he didn't get drafted, not necessarily even by the Packers, but by anybody. I mean, I think it just goes to show you how deep that draft class was, but it can be easy to miss guys like that when you're looking at a sea of them.
Sure.
But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and Georgia's got that deep defensive line. So there's a lot of guys. He didn't play a ton of snaps. None of them really do at Georgia because, there's so many of them that are there. It's, these big time recruits that come in and get drafted. But it's surprising. And I think to your point, there was just so many defensive tackles and he's just a pure run stuffing defensive tackle. Like he's probably not going to ever give you much, pass rushing wise. So maybe that devalues him a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, what he's already doing, it's really surprising that no one took a chance on him, later on, 5th, 6th, 7th round on day 3.
Yeah, very surprising. And I'm glad they didn't. Glad they didn't. Let's visit a few more comments here. I didn't get to our Shower's best comment, of course, is live from Memphis tonight. Fired up for the best Packers show on the web, LFG. Y'all know what that means. Thank you, Mr. Showers. Appreciate you, man. I hope Memphis is treating you well. I've always enjoyed going to Memphis. Bill Patsa says, "Good evening, gents." And I got to get this other one in from our Showers here. Anyone who doesn't think my man Malik Heath isn't making the team, think again. Carl Brooks looked good too. Oladapo looked good. Start with those. Hey, so just the Carl Brooks one. He did look good. I think he's got to show a lot, though. He's flashed, but he's never stayed consistent. And I know that that's like the broken record line for a lot of these guys. But, man, his pass rush ability was stellar at one point. Like, he really looked like his needle was pointed straight up. And I think that he's gotten eaten up, with the other responsibilities outside of pass rush. I also think that his aggressiveness costs him. I think other teams are able to take advantage of that with traps and stuff. He's definitely been, guilty of rushing too far upfield and getting, past the quarterback. But yeah, I mean, if you get him really starting to figure it out and playing consistently in the system, you got another one that's going to be impossible to take off the field. You're going to have to find him reps. But I do think that, if I had to pick somebody that maybe is at a disadvantage right now, I'd say it's Wooden. He's at 275, I think. He's significantly lighter than the rest of that interior D-line group. So I don't know if he starts to rotate outside, maybe more of the end position and mix in with the pass rushers. But he's one that if he doesn't do that, I don't know if just from a sheer size perspective, I don't know if he can hang with this group.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot there, you know, and Oladapo had a good family night too. I think that gets overshadowed by our boy Omar Brown. But you know, I mean, this is where I get that whole attitude of like, this team can do that whole next man up thing. You've got guys who not only are showing flashes of playmaking ability, but you got guys that are showing maturity. And you know, we can maybe get into this later. I don't know if we want to make like a whole segment of this, but you know, Jordan Love had a story or a writing or an article. There we go, in the Players Tribune today, and I don't know if anybody got a chance to read that yet, but it is worth the read. I'm not all the way through it, but you know, my eyes started doing something weird, so I had to like walk away and figure out what was
Cutting
going
onions.
on there. Yeah, my wife was making dinner, so I figured that's what it was. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that'd
you
be
know,
his onions.
I hadn't gotten a chance to go back to it yet, but what I did get through was phenomenal. And Jordan Love is just a phenomenal human. You know, you can't help but root for the guy. But he talks about how going into that game against the Chiefs, his first start, just the way he felt about it, just the overwhelming feeling. You know, he's going up against the Chiefs. It's Pat Mahomes. It's, you know, all the guys on the defense that they had, and it's at Arrowhead, and you know, it was all of a sudden very real to him. And you don't want that from these guys. If you're going to be that next man up mentality kind of team, you can't have a bunch of guys that are going to feel that way when they get in and they get up, right? Like, and not to say, oh well, Jordan Love's bad because that's how he felt. No, that's just, he's human. Like, that's a human thing to feel. You know, I was kind of reading it, like thinking, like, thank God. I kind of think like these guys go into this and they just don't feel that way, but they do. You know, so they're human. That's how I would feel. Just totally overwhelmed, intimidated. Like, holy crap, how do I settle this down? And I think now across the board, there's obviously some exceptions, but for the majority of the roster, your next man up is not going to be a guy who's going to feel like that. He's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. He's going to have been in the moment before. You know, even down to Kalen King, he's had snaps. But now you got Ballantyne on the roster again. He's had snaps. You're looking deep into this roster, and these guys have had snaps. Even I think Bo Melton, maybe as a corner is different, but he's competed at the NFL level. He's not going to be intimidated just because he's on the other side of the ball now. If anything, he might feel an advantage because he knows how a receiver thinks. There's a lot of mind games going on there. So I mean, you just look around and it's very exciting because I do believe that this team can absolutely carry that next man up mentality. And that is one thing that I think you have to have for a championship team. I mean, shoot, look how far the Lions got last year with that. I can't believe how far they got. They basically had to replace their whole defense mid-season, and they just kept going. So that's a difference. You know, it's a difference between that and then losing one guy and it all falls apart, which I think is where the Packers have been the last few years. You know, they get a good stretch of momentum with Quay starting at linebacker, and then Quay gets hurt. You know, you see Devontae Wyatt flash, and Devontae Wyatt gets hurt, and it seems to throw off their game plan when those types of things happen. And I think now the way that they've built the roster, that's not going to happen anymore. You know, just look. I mean, shoot, the linebackers, you're super deep right there. You know, like you got all sorts of. We've talked a little bit about that on this show for sure, but I think that's what's going to be a kind of the ante for the playoffs, right? Like you've got to be able to have that mentality, the next man up mentality. I think this roster is built for it. Am I wrong, man?
No, I like the depth, and it's something we talked about that they were building throughout the offseason. And obviously you have to have that to be successful. You have to have that to be deep or to go deep in the playoffs. It's huge, and I like it. I like where they are at certain positions, and I also think like this has been the youngest team in the league the last 2 years, and we'll see at the end of, you know, once the roster's set where they stack up this year. But they're going to be one of the youngest teams, and I don't want to hear that anymore. Like that's not an excuse. Like,
yeah,
these guys have experience, even if they're young. They've been in the league 2-3 years now. You've been around. Like, no more of this youngest team. Like, if it's your turn to play, you need to play, right? And there were too many guys last year that just spun their wheels or took a step back. That now it's time. Like, and we're seeing. We talked about receivers throughout the offseason. That's why they went out and drafted 2 in the first 3 rounds. Like, There's no more spinning your wheels. Like when it's your turn, you need to perform. And there's positions where they look deep, where, they have guys where hopefully, hopefully they're not called on too much, but it's the NFL, it's reality. There's going to be injuries. They have those players that can come in and replace them. And there's no excuses. Like age is no longer a factor, right? Like you have that experience, you've been in the league. When you're called upon, it's time to perform. And I think they have that ability to do that, offensively and defensively, and not everywhere. And not every team is going to have that. Hell, there's a lot of teams that just don't have enough starters. I don't think the Packers are one of them. But I think part of too, what would help them, at least defensively, is this is the second year that with Hafley, where they have a real defensive coordinator who knows how to use a scheme and knows how to use the different players that he has, so that when he's faced with those injuries or having to replace a player in a lineup, he's now more comfortable with what those guys can do and what he can do with his scheme around the whole defense. And I think that's going to help a lot too, is that, if they have to call on Corey Ballantyne or Bo Melton or one of these depth corners or a couple of these depth corners to step up, or if there's, a need at linebacker, he knows what these guys can do. He knows what he can do scheme-wise to take advantage of them and keep the team successful, keep the team running along. And I think that's going to be big. It's just the second year of growth in the defense with Hafley, he's understanding his players, but the players understand the scheme so much better too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think we're going to see that with pieces like Isaiah Simmons, where
yes, yep.
Last year you had a group that self-admittedly, and they've talked about this, I think Hafley said it and some of the players have said it, where they were just trying to figure things out. They were trying to, like, what do we do here? What do we do there? How does this work? How does my, all right, I've got this assignment. What do I do in this situation? And there's a lot of figuring stuff out. And, you kind of go from a survival mode to then how do you thrive? All right, now we've got the system picked up, but now how do we start making plays? How do we start getting turnovers? How do we start getting sacks? Stuff like that. And one of the biggest things that I think Hafley said this offseason is the way that they got sacks last season is not going to be the way they get sacks this season. And I think I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially what he said. It's like what works last season is not necessarily going to work this season. We got to study that, understand it, and then we got to be able to figure out how to translate that into what's going to work in the future, and some of it you can keep doing, some of it's going to work. There's very traditional things that work, you just outnumber people. But when it comes to what offenses are you facing, you're facing different offenses this year than you did last year. What's going to work against those? You got to figure that out, and that's going to change each week, and we said it last year after the loss to the Eagles in week 1. It's like, well, look, the Eagles in week 1 are not going to be the Eagles in week 18, 19, and either of the Packers are going to have two different teams. And I did say the Eagles very well could be the best team in the NFL after that loss. I did say that. So, but I love that it seems like everybody's taking that step forward, and it doesn't feel like there's anybody who's struggling with it, right? Like sometimes there's signs of people struggling with, like the system or their assignment or their position, whatever it is. And I don't see that right now. I'm seeing some Jordan Morgan stuff in the chat. I think that'll get worked out. But yeah, I don't see that. I think these guys are really getting comfortable with it, which I think is going to be a massive, massive advantage as they start to what do they call it? Add the window dressing, right? So you have your base system, but then you can do certain things against certain matchups to tweak it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something too, like as far as family and anybody go watch family night, I think the defense was much further along than the offense, but LaFleur came out after and said it was pretty vanilla. Like they didn't want to show a lot because that's getting streamed, on other teams. It sounds crazy, but they're worried about other teams looking at it and seeing their stuff. So they kept it pretty simple and basic. What you're going to see in the preseason games is a lot of what you just saw in that practice. So don't jump to conclusions, right, based on family night. And yeah, they're going to dress it up. They're going to do a lot of different things especially offensively. I think defensively as well. Hafley, ran a different scheme, I think, than what he was anticipating running last year, going into the season then he realized and saw that they didn't have enough pass rush. So they were more of a blitz team. They were more simulated pressures, cover two. They did a lot of different things that probably wasn't the plan, but a lot of that stuff works. So they're going to keep it. And it gives them the ability to run stuff that was successful last year, plus the other things that they want it to be originally. So it opens up a lot of possibilities for them. And, they have some players. You mentioned Simmons, and Simmons has looked really good. I liked how he looked on family night. They're deep at linebacker, and they got a freak athlete, a guy who's ready to take off and be a superstar in Adrian Cooper. But they have the guys around them, Quay Walker, McDuffie, Simmons, who he's had a strong camp. We'll see if there's a role for him, but he's another one of those guys that's pushing to get on the field and say, make it impossible for them not to find a spot for him on the field. And then even Tyron Hopper's had a really good start to camp, and he was a 3rd-round pick last year. And he's a little bit buried on the depth chart, but he's doing what he needs to do to get noticed and to be better in his second year and to push for playing time. So they're deep there, and they can use those guys in different ways. They can use their secondary guys. I mean, we saw Nixon and McKinney come on blitzes last year. They're going to be able to do that. The interchangeable guys they have at nickel, there's so much they can do on defense that can make it tough on an offense where you're going to line up against their defense and not know exactly what they're playing, who's coming on a blitz, who's dropping off, and with a coordinator like Halfley, that's awesome, because it's going to be really tough for offenses to game plan, for the Packers and what they're going to try to do week to week.
Totally. No, and I look at both the offense and defense and feel like they're starting to mirror each other in their philosophies from an athleticism standpoint. Usually you might have one freak in your linebacking core in that, the front seven, maybe 2 freaks. But the Packers have, you've got Cooper, but Isaiah Simmons is a freak, and so is Quay Walker. We can't forget Quay Walker's athleticism in all of this. He's not exactly a bum,
right? And we'll see.
When you have the capabilities that they have, it's kind of like having Christian Watson and Matthew Golden on the field at the same time on the opposite side, right? You've already got intimidation being struck in the defense with Christian Watson on the field and his speed and what you have to account for. You have to do the same thing with Matthew Golden. If you could put both of them on the field at the same time, it's going to be a nightmare. Same thing for an offense. If you're looking across the way and that Isaiah Simmons, Edrin Cooper, Quay Walker, even the ends, Gary, LVN, if you know that those guys are an athletic nightmare, an athletic mismatch, and you're worried about which one is firing from which direction, that's a lot to account for before you've even looked at the secondary. That's tough stuff, so that's where I'm looking at going, you don't need your D-line to be heroes necessarily. You need them to be good and free those linebackers up to be the freaks that they are. And I think that they're setting up to play that way. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and 2 things, and one of the things is breaking news that we can get to in a second. But talking about the defensive line, Lucas Van Ness had a good start to camp. I don't want to get too far with it because it's just camp. Yeah. It's still early. It's 2 weeks in, but it's a good sign that he's putting together.
You don't talk about a no-hitter,
Right. He's stacking practices. That's great for me. I got to see him do it against the other teams once the regular season starts before I get too excited about it. But it's a positive sign and a positive step for Van Ness. So I want to call that out. And he looked good on family night too. So the breaking news as we're speaking, and you mentioned the secondary as well, Nate Hobbs has missed the last couple practices with a knee injury. And apparently that knee injury, he had knee surgery. He'll be out about 3 weeks, but that should give him about enough time to be ready for week 1. Apparently,
comment section.
Yeah.
They on it.
Look at that. They're right on it. Apparently it was more preventative thing that, and I'm just reading it, Bill Huber had it, that he apparently could have played through all season, but I guess they figured it's training camp right now.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. Do it now. And let's not make you have to play in pain or, have it get worse, whatever the case might have been. So he gets it done now, but 3 weeks, that's probably won't see him until right before the regular season for practices. So, not great, but the fact that it's a short-term injury and they're getting something cleaned up and taken care of ahead of time, I think that's a good sign. And, I think it gives Carrington Valentine a really good chance to be playing a lot in that first game, at least. But
That's
definitely
got
a
to be
no-brainer.
part of the equation, right? I mean, you got to get a guy
Yeah.
healthy, but it also helps in getting evaluation for others. So, I guess there's some benefit to that. But shout out to, I believe I'm going to pronounce this nostalgic. I'm trying Nost X Elgic. Nate Hobbs got a procedure done on his knee, out for 3 weeks. Comment section is on the breaking news. You guys are
It's
awesome.
awesome.
So that is one, but I would rather that than what you had last season, where now you're looking at all these guys afterwards, Kenny Clark, LVN, Jordan Love, saying, "Yeah, I was dealing with an injury. Yeah, I was dealing with an injury." Okay, fine, fair enough. I'm not going to beat you up over dealing with an injury, but if you can take 3 weeks out, in the preseason and not deal with an injury, let's do that.
Yeah, I agree. Get it taken care of now. If it's something that is going to fix whatever was going on in the knee, it's going to clean it up and fix it. Great. Get it taken care of. Now's the time. And it sucks because he's new to the team and, you want to see where he fits. And obviously he wants to make an impression. He's made quite the impression with how physical he is in practice. So it sucks. And by the time he's back, they're probably going to be prepping for the Lions in week 1. So he may be, limited snap count or something in that game. We'll see. This is, it's still a month away. We don't know, but it stinks, but it's also probably, good timing that this isn't something that hopefully lingers all season. Get it fixed, get it cleaned up now, and then not have to deal with it later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting the benefit of other evaluation, getting Carrington Valentine some snaps, and those other guys some snaps. Like, you want to see them. You need Kalen King getting, competition in there. You need Bo Melton getting competition in there. Now, Valentine, you want to know who that bottom half of the roster is going to be. Obviously, the top half of the roster is important, but I think you know what you need to know about Nixon. I think you know what you need to know about Hobbs. I don't think there's a whole lot of evaluation that needs to be done there. Let's see what Carrington's got. And then, obviously we've seen a lot, but let's see what he can do as he keeps growing. But this is it. This is what I was just talking about. Like, you got to be able to do the next man up thing if you're going to be hunting for a championship, because stuff like this is going to happen. And if you can tolerate a guy going out for 3 weeks because he's not a Jordan Love, somebody that just has to be in there, that's a great position to be in. There's really not a lot of downside to this except for the fact that it exists at all. I think the injury itself, everything else around it seems like, happened the best way it could. So, a lot to continue to see in training camp. There's something else floating around out there that, I thought might be fun to address, but, the comments are bringing this up now. Our friend Matthew Tan would like your input on this, Tim. So, Tim, what about the Packers signing Micah Parsons? Do you think it's possible?
So it would have to be a trade, Matthew. No, I don't think it's something like there's not a 0% chance, but it's pretty close to zero. All the drama with his contract in Dallas is typical. This is how the Cowboys do things. He's just the latest one, right? They went through this with Dak Prescott. They went through this with CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott back in. Like, this is how they do things. It's stupid. But guess what?
It's terribly stupid.
It's, I don't. Right. And then, what's going to happen is, he requested a trade, says he doesn't want to be there anymore. My prediction is within the last few days before the season opener, he signs and becomes the highest paid defensive player in football. I don't think there's any chance they're trading him. I think they're going to end up paying him. They waited too long. They could have got him sooner and cheaper. I mean, they would have still had to pay him a lot, but a little bit cheaper. He would have saved a little money, but this is the way the Cowboys do business, and they like it. It's negative, but people were talking about Micah Parsons and getting traded, and it gives the Cowboys attention, even though it's bad attention. It gives them attention. They love it. They crave it.
He loves it. He loves
It
it.
makes it wins you no games, but it makes Jerry Jones money, which is more and gets Jerry Jones attention, which is more important to him than winning Super Bowls, no matter what he says. Be happy that we don't have an owner in Green Bay. No, he's not. If for some reason he was available in a trade, they absolutely should do every. He's in his prime. He's one of the top pass rushers. He's one of those guys where you just say the hell with it. You know, if it
Just do
costs
it.
right. Like they were in on Khalil Mack when Khalil Mack was getting traded from the Raiders. They almost got him from the Bears.
Is
Or the Bears got him.
is this version of Micah Parsons better than 2018 Khalil Mack?
He might be. It's really close.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd say he is from an athleticism standpoint. He is a
Yeah.
freak. I think he ran a 4.3, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And for a guy who this good of a pass rusher, I saw him at Penn State. They had him playing off-ball linebacker. Like he wasn't even playing as a full-time pass rusher. Right. He was making that conversion. Then the COVID year hit and he sat out the COVID year and then he was a first round pick. So he never even got to make that transition and learn it and start learning it in college. He made that transition in the pros. And he's incredible. Yeah. If it costs 2 first round picks and more, I would do it and I would pay him, whatever, beat TJ Watt's contract. Sure. I would be all in. I don't think the Packers would do that. But I also don't think it's going to get to that point. I think he'll sign there in Dallas and, they're get him done and pay him top dollar. But it's fun to hope and think about, but don't waste your time. It's not going to happen.
Well, our Showers has a good counter perspective here for us. Never in a million years should we want Parsons. Not when we get Parsons. Should we want Parsons?
He
was nothing
maker.
In that wild card win for that price plus first round and more. No.
You can't base it on one game, and he is.
Oh man!
It's funny too because Myles. If you go back to the beginning of the offseason, Myles Garrett requested a trade and said he wasn't going to play in Cleveland anymore.
True.
Until they made him the highest paid player, and then now he's in Cleveland. So and T.J. Watt was unhappy with the Steelers, and then they paid him. Now he's really happy to be a Steeler. So
yeah, that's true too.
No,
I don't agree with you, our Showers, but I do respect your counter perspective there. That's an important game, and he was a nobody. You're right, but he's also been a pretty big somebody in a lot of other games. So there's just got to see. But then we got another friend of the show, Rev Trev, join us. Good to see you, man. He says, I want Parsons so bad. I think that's what most of us feel. I want me some Parsons. So let me introduce a little bit of here's how or why I think it might be possible. Give our friend Matthew some hope. The positions of need for the Cowboys happen to align very well with the Packers roster surpluses. They would love a receiver. They always love receivers. They would love another offensive lineman. And you probably could offer them something in return for Parsons on the defensive side of the ball as far as a pass rusher goes. So I don't know that you would have to dip too deep into the picks. You got to give up some picks, but I don't think you'd have to go too deep into the picks because you do have quality, young, affordable players that the Cowboys would be interested in at more than one position. It's not like you got this one guy. It's like, well, they would want him. There's several. I think that they would probably like any one of the receivers. I won't even name one because I don't want to like insinuate that I'm rooting for one of them to be traded. I just think that they would probably want any one of them. Rasheed Walker would be a great one. If you think that you've got somebody behind him, you could get him over to Dallas, and I think they would love that. Maybe another offensive lineman, depending on what they are, their needs are. I'm not an expert on their roster. But, and if you're getting Micah Parsons, ship off LVN, right? If you're not sure what he's going to be, off with him. Let him go to Dallas. He's a premier guy, right? Still young, still could be everything he was drafted to be. And, so there is compensation potential there. And the Packers are in position financially. They could probably make Micah happy. Now, do you want to do that? I don't know. Because, what happens afterwards, the next few years when you got other players to sign, that's a big old chunk in the way that's taking that up. And I don't know if that's Russ Ball's game. We'll see. I will also point out that the Packers are usually involved in every conversation, right? And I just
That's what they
haven't
say.
heard that about this one. Have they said that? Has that been reported? Are the Packers involved in this conversation?
I haven't seen anybody like reported as being involved because the Cowboys shot it down right away and said, "Yeah, this isn't." I think even Jerry came out and said, "This
Yeah, I
is
don't buy
part of
that.
negotiations." I'm sure teams have called. I don't think
Oh,
he's
Jerry's
really.
had conversations. No way
Yeah,
Jerry hasn't had conversations. He's
Uh,
definitely had conversations.
yeah. I'm sure it's not something that they're really looking to do or taking seriously. But no, I haven't seen the Packers. I haven't seen any other teams really linked to it. But I mean, if he's available, almost every team should be calling. Right? Like,
Yeah.
he's that
If you can
good.
afford it, but
You can
teams
afford
that
it.
financially can't afford it, they
Right,
stay.
right. Like the Browns can't pay Garrett and Parsons. The Steelers can't pay Watt and Parsons. Like some teams
Right.
just have no chance. Um, but yeah, any team that realistically could afford him and could afford to give up the compensate, like you'd be crazy not to want him. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Packers have at least put out the and like made the call. Is he available? No. Okay, let us know if he is.
Everybody
Thanks.
has a price.
You know. I'm sure it hasn't gotten very far with any team, but certainly with the Packers.
Well, my thought there is usually we hear that the Packers are involved, right? And the times that we haven't heard much is when surprises happen. It's like, oh, Julius Peppers shows up. So I'm just sitting here going, hey, man, we haven't heard this usual line. Like, say the line, Bart. We haven't heard the line. So I'm kind of like, wait a second. When we don't hear the line, that's usually when they actually mean that they're involved. So, just speculation, just having fun with it. It would be a lot of fun, I think, to add a player like Micah Parsons to the Packers, but the price that you'd have to pay for him, it's going to be steep.
Yeah, but I think I saw that he has the same agent as Jordan Love.
Those two were friends.
So yeah,
I mean, I was actually really, I was surprised. That's what I was going to talk about is that podcast. I was surprised after that wild card or that playoff win. I guess it was wild card. That they were talking real ball on that podcast. Like they were really getting into it. And you could almost feel how Micah was kind of jealous, man. Like he was like, oh, man, I want to be over on that side of this thing, man. So yeah, I think he wants to go to Green Bay. I don't think he's specifically demanding to be traded to Green Bay, but I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibilities that Jordan Love is shooting a text like, hey man, how bad you want to come to Green Bay?
He should
have your agent call him up. But I will say Jerry has horribly mismanaged this. I mean, you should have seen this Micah deal from a mile away. This should have been done last year. I mean, you would have thought he'd learned his lesson with the Dak Prescott stuff, and he just never did. And yeah, you're right. They'll probably pay him. They'll probably pay way too much. And the cost that's not on the sheet and that can't be written down is the ruffling of feathers in the locker room. Like, yeah, maybe a deal does get done. But did you notice how CD was pretty quick to speak up when this started happening? It's like, yeah, they made him happy last year too, but that doesn't seem like that wound went away. Yeah, he still remembers that wasn't exactly an enjoyable experience and doesn't exactly feel appreciated on the other side of it, it doesn't seem like. So if you get the deal done, great, but is the locker room still with you? Like, I don't know. I really feel like Jerry's starting to lose the locker room a little bit with the way he's been the last few years. And it should have happened sooner, in my opinion. But
well, this is one of the reasons why they haven't been even a championship game in 35 years.
Yeah, that's right. They're starting to enter that Bears territory, hanging their hat on this, this previous time that none of their fans were alive for. I shouldn't say that. It wasn't that long ago. I'm making myself sound old. But yeah, Cowboys fans, I will say there's a definitely noticeable negativity across Cowboys fans. Like you talk about the season starting, everybody's excited for football to start, but then you talk to them like, oh, well, how's it going to go? And like, whatever. So I don't know. It's kind of fun.
And
Kind of fun to see rivals demoralized before the season even starts.
And the Packers play down there. I think it's pretty early in the year, week 4, week 5, something like that. Pretty early in the season, they go down to Dallas, so our home away from home. So
yeah, exactly. Hey. All right. Showers. Goodness, I'm not going to stand for this slander. No, I don't have a star paint on my drive. I just grew up in the Dallas market, so I've been endlessly exposed to Jerry Jones failures, and there for a while, I had a lot of Cowboys fans and just chirping in my ear because Brett Favre couldn't win a game down here. And then finally the tides turned and we got Aaron Rodgers. But nonetheless, Jerry Jones just makes it way too easy to hate on him and just talk crap about all of his failures, and he's not even the worst GM in this town, but we won't get into that. It's another sport entirely. Got to defend myself here though, because no, I'm not defending the Cowboys. I want the Packers to absolutely destroy them. That's why I'm enjoying in this demoralization before it even starts. It's amazing. And Bears fans too. Like, gosh, we've already got Bears trolls that are sharing SNL gifts as a way to defend Caleb Williams somehow. It's like, oh man, this is getting sad. You guys don't even know what you're doing. So Caleb Williams can't hit a net. This is great. I love it. Let's just enjoy all of the rivals' tears. That's what I'm doing. So you take your slander out of here, our showers. Not going to tolerate that. I will not be accused of having a star in my driveway. But anyway, so we got a game against the Jets coming up this week. We get to play football against a different team. How much Justin Fields do we see?
That's a good question. I would think we're going to see at least a little bit of him. I know he got hurt early in camp, but he's been back practicing for the Jets. It's a new team, new staff, new system, new quarterback. Like I would think they probably, everything's new. I would think, and he's not an established guy where it's like, yeah, he don't really need preseason. Like he's not a good
preseason still,
right? He needs all the help he can get, all the work he can get. So I think we'll see him at least for a little while in that game. Not sure how much. Like I'm sure it'll be one of the first questions LaFleur gets asked this week. And he'll probably deflect it all week and say, we're still trying to figure out playing time. I would be shocked if Jordan Love plays this week. He may not play at all this preseason. And if he does, maybe they wait until like the third preseason game, give him a little bit of time closer to the regular season. Guys like Josh Jacobs, he's not going to play. Elton Jenkins not going to play. Yeah, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, like McKinney. I don't see any reason to play most of them. You're going to have to play some of your starters just from.
I think a lot of the O-line starters will go. I think your D-line guys will go.
Yeah. Kenny and Rashawn won't go. The rest of them will. Offense, the offensive line, it's going to be about health. Like Banks has been dealing with the back. They're not going to put him out there. Rasheed Walker's been dealing with the groin. He's not going to play. I don't know if they play Tom. I wouldn't, but maybe they do for a little while. But so I don't think we're going to. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a ton of the Packers starters, and the ones we do probably not very long. The Jets, they probably will play some guys, I would think. But yeah, it'll be interesting because it's going to be a nice test for some of the depth guys that we talked about. Playing against starting NFL guys, even if it's starters for a team like the Jets, it'll be a nice test for those guys and a big opportunity. And the two guys I'm really interested to see offensively, Jordan Morgan and Anthony Belton, because seeing them on family night, they both struggled. But Jordan Morgan was just, a couple practices ago, everybody was raving about how he looked. And he's only got about 3 practices at left tackle. And I think 2 of them had pads on. So it's still, he was playing a lot of guard. Now they've finally given him snaps to compete at left tackle. So he deserves a little bit of a break, but he looked rough at times, family night. So I want to see him against the Jets. I want to see how much he can improve from family night. And then I want to see what Belton looks like because he's a big boy. And they've moved him around a little bit of left tackle and right tackle, but they're keeping him at tackle now, which is interesting. And he's another one to look at. And to show how ready he may be if they need him early in the year. So yeah, I'm looking at those two offensively, number one, just to see how the offensive line is going to look, how they're going to look at tackle. But yeah, I think overall, it's like, let's see how these depth guys can play this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at the Jets rosters, try to feel like, see who might be playing. Will you see Sauce Gardner? I don't know if you'll see him. Will you see Garrett Wilson? I don't know if you'll see him. But I mean, their offensive line looks tough. So yeah, that could be a good, early test, at least for some reps for the D line, to see how they compete against those guys. But yeah, I mean, I want to see as many as we can. Obviously, everybody wants to see the starters. But yeah, I'm looking for that competition, man. I'm looking to see, what can you learn in this first matchup against another team? How does the defense look? Do they look organized? How does the offense look? Does Golden get out there and get some snags? You got to see him playing. That's where I think maybe you do get Jordan Love on the field, because you want to see him with Golden. You want to see him with some of these other guys, maybe for a series. A lot of times a series in these preseason games, you're talking about 3-4 plays. You're not even going to make it down the field. But, yeah, I mean, those are the things I would definitely like to see. Check us out. All right, we got a new friend coming in here. We got Matt Ramage.
Nice.
The famous Matt Ramage. Thanks for joining us, sir.
World famous.
Up, boys?
Good to have you.
Honored that you're joining us tonight. Appreciate you, man. And then got Rev Trev here. Everyone is worried about Jordan Love's footwork and throwing off his back foot. He's literally done it his entire life. I'm no footwork expert for quarterbacks. I will say this. I think decision making means way more than footwork means. I think footwork can be something that if something's wrong, it can be the reason something's wrong. But if it's right, who cares? It's kind of like a golf swing. It's like, if it's ugly, but you're hitting it down the fairway, every time, 200, 250, whatever, I'm not going to tell you how to swing that club. You do that. You keep doing that. And that's, I think, where I stand with Jordan Love. There's room for improvement, but what I see is a comfortable dude hitting that net with precision. He is nailing that thing right now. I haven't seen any concerning throws. Yeah, he throws some picks and stuff like that, but I haven't seen anything where it's like, oh, what was he doing there? Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of those videos coming about Caleb Williams. So, like, just kind of watch it, see what happens, and if it's ugly, if the result is bad, then let's fix the problem. But if the result isn't bad, leave it alone.
And you know who else had unconventional footwork? Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, right? Like, they had unconventional footwork. So
do you remember the ball up by the ear?
Yeah, I mean, and how many clips of him? You'd see his foot. He's throwing the ball, and both feet are off the ground.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Favre did something. Favre throws the ball, and he's going back, whereas his feet are off the ground. Like, there's times where I think Jordan Love could clean up his fundamentals, certainly, and I think last year we saw that. But part of that, I think, was injury related. The knee injury, the groin injury played into that. And yeah, I think there's times he needs to get a little more balanced in the pocket, clean up the footwork. But at the same time, like, if it works for him, they're not all, not every quarterback's going to be the same with their fundamentals, nor should they be. If it works for him, that's fine. Again, like you said, I'm not an expert on it. Does it look weird at times? Yeah. But if his accuracy's there, I don't care about his footwork. Just get the ball where it's supposed to be, on time and in the right spot for your receivers to catch it. So, yeah, I know it's been something they've talked about as a coaching staff and keeping an eye on with him, and he's talked about it. I think it's going to be better than it was last year just because he's healthier. So he's not going to be dealing with the effects of his injuries, and that's going to help a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're injured, you're going to be compensating in some way for that, which is just not going to be good. So, yeah, that's true. Being injury free, being healthy is definitely going to be a big deal. And, I mean, we got our showers weighing in on his deep throws look erratic at best. Love him, but it isn't great. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, let's see how it goes. I mean, it's not like we could say, hey, he's got bad footwork, so that means he's going to have a bad season. I don't think that's, even close to true. I think, again, it's like, if if the result is bad, let's go look at it. Let's see what's going on there. Is the ball sailing? Is it not on time? What's the deal there? But I think more than anything, it's about decision making. And
Yeah.
if he is making good decisions, then he's going to be naturally on time. And however his feet get him there, I don't care. So
And
that's the way I would look at it.
yeah, and he mentions the deep throws. Like 2023, go back to that first part of the year. Yeah, they couldn't hit deep passes. Remember, that was the big storyline. And then all of a sudden it changed and they got on the deep run and he was able to hit the deep passes. So like, was that his footwork or was that other things? Like, who knows? It's more than just footwork that plays into that. So yeah, I mean, unless it's something that's just causing him major issues to not be accurate with the ball, I'm not gonna like and kill the guy for that right now, you know?
Yeah. No, and the deep ball thing is way more than footwork, I would say. I mean, that's timing with your receivers, and we need to keep into perspective here where this team is at. You know, Jordan Love the last couple of years, the offense was in, you know, they were kind of like a baby deer, man. They're trying to get their legs underneath them. Musgrave very much was like a baby deer. And they needed to figure things out, O-line included. So guys are making mistakes. Jordan Love's trying to figure some stuff out. He's trying to figure out who's going to be where. There's a lot going on there that you're not going to have that this year. You're going to have the O-line. I mean, again, assuming everybody's healthy, but even with some injuries, I think they can maintain this just consistent, stable O-line, giving good pass protection. But also he's got continuity with his receivers now. He's been throwing to Dobbs for years. He's been throwing to Reed for years. He's been throwing to Wicks for years. He's been throwing to Watson for years. He knows where those guys are going to be on a route, right? Like whereas earlier, especially in 2023, they were just figuring stuff out, man. Like he's just heaving it up there, hoping not to overthrow somebody or, you know, whatever it is, not to throw an interception. That's a big, big deal. And the only way to figure that out is reps. The only way. You know, there's no film watching that's going to help you make better timing with your receivers. There's none of that. You have to get out there and do it over and over and over again, and in games too, to understand, because, you know, guys are going to run different in practice than they do in games. It just depends on what a defense is throwing at you. But that's what the way I would look at it is, especially the deep balls. The deep balls, I would expect those to be better this year for that reason alone. But I wouldn't look at his footwork as much of an issue with that. I think that if his footwork was an issue, it probably would have been way more obvious before now. And before leading up to now, and we've talked about this too, last year, I mean, if you just take away a lot of those drops, his stats look great. You know what I mean? We're not talking about this.
Just catch the ball. And there's going to be a lot prettier deep passes than you think because they put too many of them on the ground.
So that's another thing where it's like, you know, the context does matter, you know, not to make excuses. Oh, Jordan Love is awesome. These guys suck. It's all nuanced, but context matters. And that's where I wouldn't worry as much about that. I think Jordan Love is going to take a step forward this year because of his decision-making, because of his comfortability with his receivers and the reps that he's gotten in with these guys. And we're not talking about Aaron Rodgers going off to Africa for an off season and coming back with dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about a dude who's been hanging out with these guys, and these guys are all kind of in that same age cohort too. You know, you don't have this weird, like, these guys are playing Fortnite and I'm not, you know, that kind of thing. There's a really good cohesiveness that seems to be forming with this group. And I think that is going to go a very, very long way. And it's not on a stat sheet. But yeah, so bottom line, I'm not worried about Love's footwork. I'm no quarterback expert, but he's been, man, there's a case to be made that Jordan Love has been coached better than any young rookie to sixth year quarterback in NFL history. I mean, his career started behind one of the best, winning back-to-back MVPs. And then he's got one of the best quarterback coaches, you know, coaching him up. He's got one of the best offensive minds in the league as his head coach. And then he gets to take over at a nice, reasonable time instead of being thrown to the fire in unreasonable circumstances. I mean, he has had the best preparation and sort of, I don't want to say like grooming, but like sort of upbringing for any quarterback I can remember in the NFL. Like, there's no reason we should expect his trajectory to stop here. There's no reason that there's a plateau here. Like, that's not how this works. So I'm excited, man. My optimism for Jordan Love is as high as it gets, and that may be a little bit misplaced, but man, I just looking at all the ingredients and all the contexts, it's really setting up. It's just really setting up. And if it doesn't work, then whatever. That's why we watch this game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm very optimistic about the season he's going to have, and I think number one is just health, like him being healthy. And then if the receivers can catch at least some of the passes they were dropping last year, you're going to see his numbers and the production and the consistency of the offense be a whole lot better. And he's going to have natural growth. Like 2 years into the league and as a starting quarterback isn't that long. Like, you're still learning a ton of things. And having now 2 years under his belt and the experience, he's played some playoff games. He's gone through changes offensively. He's becoming a better leader. He's still growing as a quarterback, right? Like, this isn't Absolutely. Who he is yet. He's not a finished product, and I think he's going to get better. And I expect a big year from him. Like, I'm not going to say MVP or any of this, or he'll be a top 3 quarterback. Like, I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's going to be much better than he was in 2024. And I think that it starts with the basics. Like, if he stay healthy, and he'll be a much better. Like, I think we'll see how much of a difference that made last season, because it affected him for, he hurt the knee, then he hurt the groin. It affected him most of that season. And some, because of that, there were probably other issues that popped up that wouldn't have popped up. Maybe his fundamentals, maybe his footwork were off. Maybe he was pressing too much because of the injuries. Now he's got a clean slate, and he's going into it healthy. He's got growth. He's got his receivers who, they got to be better than they were last year as far as the drops go. It can't get much worse. And now you're adding to that with a first-round pick who looks really good, right? And I'm not saying he's going to come in the league and be a superstar right away, but he's got a ton of potential. And, yeah, he's off to a great start. So, yeah, I'm really high on what Jordan Love can do in this season. I don't have much concerns with it. You cut down on some of the interceptions, improve your accuracy. Like, I get that, but on the list of worries with the Packers, he's pretty far down the list.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty far down there. No, and our Showers has a good point here too, and I think this is one that it's hard to put on paper, but it says, watch us power run with 2 tight ends, then run play action, deep throws off of that. It's going to look different on offense this year. Watch Musgrave go off too. People sleep on him. You're exactly right. And I think that's why LaFleur is non-committal to the whole receiver 1 thing, because it doesn't really matter who's receiver 1. What matters is really what packages, what formations are you running out there, and what are you going to do from that? So we're over here. You're wondering, all right, well, how's Jordan Love's footwork? Well, okay, but what kind of pressure is he going to face? What kind of urgency is he going to be under? Is he going to have to run around? Is he going to, be running for his life? Is he going to have to find, throwing pockets and reset, kind of like Rodgers used to do, where you get out on the run? I don't think so. I think you're going to have an offense very much geared towards giving him the best looks he can get, because the defense has to worry about other stuff. You've got to worry about Josh Jacobs, and you've got to worry about the offensive line in front of him. It's a good combination right there. And the tight ends are pretty daggum good. You go out and run in a 2 tight end set, you don't get to just stack the box. Those guys will stretch the field on you. And like he's saying, if Musgrave stays healthy, that's going to be a problem for defenses. If they can't stack the box when you're in a 2 tight end set, that's going to be a real problem. And Love is going to have a ball with that. He's going to have a blast. He's going to get to do whatever he wants. And he's not going to have any pressure at all, because the defense is going to be on their heels. And this is all based on health. But it really does come down to those things. That's why I don't worry as much about the footwork.
Yeah, and another thing they brought up is, because of the health, they think he'll be able to use his legs a lot more. And that's not necessarily going to be design runs, but that's going to be like when things break down or there's nobody open, go out and take off and run.
Improvise,
And
yeah.
he wasn't doing a whole lot of that last year because of the injuries. And you saw it in 23. He was able to do that and made some big runs for the team, right? First downs, big times in the game, taking off and picking up yardage. Like, you're going to see more of that, and that threatens a defense, and it gives a defense something else to account for. And also getting outside the pocket and making those off-schedule plays where he wasn't as effective doing that last year because he was hurt. So his legs are going to be a big factor as well. And going back to the question or the point that R brought up about 2 tight ends, I'm all for that. I love 2 tight ends. I think that's definitely a possibility. I'd love to see it. I think it's going to be something they at least try. And again, part of that's going to come back to health, because Musgrave's been a guy that's been hurt a lot his first 2 years. Can he be healthy? And then can he have enough production there at tight end for them to rely on him and want him on the field more than, say, Dobbs or Wicks or Golden or Reed, whoever's coming out in those packages. But yeah, they can present a lot of different options, right, on the field, a lot of different looks, different packages at defense. It makes the defense prepare for a lot. But if you start getting rolling with all those looks, like, it makes you so dangerous, and they can't account for everything. So, like, it becomes like, what can we hopefully stop, and what do we have no answer for? And the Packers have enough of those pieces where they can do that to a defense.
Yeah, and I think that's what an offense strives to be, is something that has answers for what a defense does. And when you can run with two tight ends that are Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, and then at a future point when you've got a healthy Christian Watson and a healthy Matthew Golden on the same field at the same time, that is a nightmare for the defense right there. Because a 2 tight end set, I mean, the formation on its own, you want to stack the box. You want to put a little bit more beef in the middle, but you're going to have a track meet on the outside. Like, dang, man, that is 2 of the opposite ends that the defense has to figure out at the same time. Like, you got one of the best running backs in the NFL with 2 tight ends in front of him. Like, that's pretty dang good. Like, I like that. I like where that's coming from. But when I've got a track meet on the outside of that, you're in trouble. Like, you can't bring your safeties down. You have to leave them up. And Josh Jacobs is going to get 5 yards at a time, if not more than that. And that's why this is going to be a fun offense to watch. And when the receiver 1 conversation comes up, it's like, fine, have that conversation, but that's not what they're doing. They're playing a different game, and if you think of it in Madden terms, you got that speed on the outside and you've got them one-on-one with a corner. I don't care who the corner is. Give me that matchup. I don't care who it is. Give me Matthew Golden or Christian Watson one-on-one against anybody in the league right now. I'll take them. Like, and I bet Jordan Love would too. But you're not going to get the safety help over that, because they're going to have to deal with the tight ends or the running back. So you're going to get a lot more, I don't want to say one-on-ones, but you're going to be able to manufacture more one-on-ones, if that makes sense. So anyway, it's a lot of fun stuff to talk about, man. I really sincerely hope this team stays healthy so that we can see some of this stuff come to life, because it could be a lot of fun to watch the Packers in 2025 if they do. But hey, it begins. We got the Jets coming to town Sunday. What time is it?
Saturday night.
Oh, it's Saturday night.
And it's NFL Network's got it too. So
all right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
I saw that today. So that's awesome. So you can watch it live.
Let's go. 7 p.m. Oh man. I can just feel it now. I just feel the football season creeping in. Oof, feels so good. All right. Well, hey, we're going to be back next week to talk about it. We get to see how this goes, who plays, who doesn't, how's it going to look. We're going to find out. So you guys got to watch the game so you can come back and educate us, because we got some of the best comment sections on the internet right now, from what I can tell. And we're going to keep talking about it, guys. So thank y'all for hanging out with us this week. If y'all had some fun with us, spike that like button, leave us a little comment, tell a friend about it, but most of all, jump over to the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us again next Monday night. So we'll talk about this Jets game. We'll see what's going on for the next week against the Colts. We're in it, guys. We're done with the offseason. We get to watch Packers football now. Can't wait. It gets more meaningful every week from here on out. So let's have a great week, Packers fans. Hopefully we see a W, and you guys come join us next week. As always, go Pack Go.